Hello, fellow wholehearted. Welcome to Hang with Hang. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 4 simple keys how you can show up more consistently. Now, as a wholehearted, you know the importance of showing up consistently. That's how we get things done. That's how we feel good about ourselves. So when we don't, the opposite is true, right? We don't get things done. We spiral on a pattern of not feeling good about ourselves. So then when you don't feel good about yourself, it starts to ripple effect outside of ourselves in our performance and in our relationship with others. So with that, let's dive into the 4 things that you can deepen the practice so ultimately you can consistently show up for yourself and for others so you can feel good about yourself. So first thing first, my friend, well, let me be with this wind for a second. And certainly the sun come out and the wind comes. Well, the flow of life, right, is to recognize and own that you are showing up inconsistently, not the way that you want it, without judgment. That's the key. To recognize that you're doing it and to fully own it. Okay, I'm not showing up for myself as consistent, or I'm not showing up to others as consistent to the standard that I want. And I want to own it, and I want to own it for what it is without judgment, instead of beating yourself up, instead of give meanings to what is. Because when we do that, we spiral down to the abyss of judgments, right? And self-beating, and it's not really getting you anywhere. In fact, it's probably pull you down even deeper in the spiral of self-sabotage. So just connect to what is, acknowledging it. That, okay, I'm not doing as great as I want to be. It is what it is. And then you can move on to the second part, is understanding and accept how you wire and where you are in your life, because that would determine of how you show up in your life. Because some of you may have ADHD, some of you may have certain pattern that may be harder for you to show up, to focus on certain things. It's all depend if you're a male, if you're a female. It's all depend on how you are uniquely wired for you. For me, Hangbok, I have certain background, certain pattern that I have difficult time with. So that is one factor, is how you wire as a human being, right? Like physically how you wire, mentally how you wire, emotionally how you wire. And that's not talking about your influence, your environment influence from your family, from your culture. There's so many things influence that. So that's one aspect of it. And also another aspect is understand the season in your life. So you may be going through a hard time in life. There's a lot of things that happen in your life right now. So the one thing that you may want to be consistent on is simply brush your teeth. Something very simple, instead of trying to follow certain expectations of what others may think for you, or the expectation of what might your parent, your society, at the cost of yourself. My invitation is to focus on who you are and what is it that you want and what season of life you are in. Because when you are younger, you function different than when you older. When you a female, you may biologically wire different than a male. So to define our own nature, our own pattern, our own season of life, is to set ourselves for unnecessary suffering. Just like me right now, I'm trying to tell the weather, the sun to stop shining, or the wind to stop flowing, breathing. I can't, because that's not in my control, because there's season for it. Because right now we are in Hawaii summer, so the sun is out and I'm up on the mountain, so the wind gonna happen on its own course. And some moment in this video, that's gonna stop pausing. Right? When it's windy, you can do things, you can fly a kite. When it's not windy, you cannot fly a kite as well. So understand the season in your life. Because if you are happily married, you may be in a different place of how you want to show up consistently. If you are in the process of divorcing, you may show up differently. If you just got a new job, you may show up differently. And if you just lost a job, it's different, depend on the season of life. And understanding that, and give yourself that grace to be who you are and to be where you at without resisting. Because that's part of the struggle that we have, is we have judgments, right? And we have resistance, we have um, expectation of ourselves. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, my friend, in my opinion, in order to show up consistently, it's important to choose the place you're coming from. and you in my world. So I biasly invite you to choose to show up for yourself from a place of love. If you want to show up for yourself, then ask yourself, how much do I love myself? Enough that I want to show for myself is to be willing to move through the pain of showing up, to make the commitment to be consistent, right? Because sometimes this temporary discomfort to make the commitment to be consistent, if you so used to waking up at 8 and now you're making the commitment to be consistent to wake up at 6 to meditate, it's going to be uncomfortable at first. And in order for you to do that, it's important for you to connect to, why are you waking up at 6 to meditate? Why are you willing to disregard, or not, like willing to face your discomfort, to break that pattern, to show up differently? And the only way to do that, I think, is to love yourself enough, to love someone else enough, so you can be consistent. Now, in society, the way we grow up, is very natural that, a lot of time we we forced to be consistent or make a commitment out of fear and our obligations, right? It's so easy to like instill fear, instill obligation. We got to show up because of this. Because if I don't show up, if you don't show up consistently, your boyfriend, your husband going to leave you. If I don't show up, I'm going to lose my job. And there's a place to that. That's one way of living. To live out of desperation, to live out of fear, that's one way of motivating, driving you forward. That's one way of being and doing. My invitation is to really experience the deep joy in life and the space of grace is to come from a place of love. Love yourself enough that you want to eat healthy for yourself. Love your significant other enough to choose to show up and be on time, to love that person the way that she or he need, not the way that you want. Love the love enough for you to willing to go to do the inner work. Because the inner work is to sitting with your own pain, to sitting with your discomfort, right? To move through those things. So some of you may want to be, like me. I want to be consistent and be a better listener. And part of that is to make a commitment to sit in the discomfort of sometime people, my loved one, trigger me, and I'm sitting in the space of defensiveness. And that's painful. I just want to throw stuff out there. You know how many times you sit and you listen to somebody and you want to respond instead of fully listen? That's me, right? If that is you and you want to be consistent in listening, to be a better listener, you got to be willing to sit with that discomfort. In order to be willing to sit with discomfort, to make the commitment, I believe that either I love myself enough that I know that I want to be a better person for myself, and also love my significant other enough that, you know what, I'm going to sit with you and be with you no matter what, and keep my heart no matter what. So choose your driving force. And me, I biasly invite you to choose from a place of love instead of fear and obligations. So that's key number 3. Key number 4, my friend, is as you moving through this process of committing to yourself to be more consistent, allow space for imperfect actions. Allow space for you to screw up along the way. Allow space for you to not doing as well as you want it to be, by let go of the attachment of an absolute expectation, because expectation, that what caused the pain. So instead of attached to the outcome that you should be a certain way, you should show up consistently certain way at certain time in your life because everybody say that you should. Celebrate the progress. Celebrate you in the process. Celebrate you being courageous to be true to yourself. To show up consistent for yourself. Not to show up consistently because somebody else said so. And even if somebody else say so and you think it makes sense and you choose to, that's a different place to come from than somebody put a gun in your head and say you got to show up consistent, right? And a lot of time we literally do that as if somebody put an invisible gun in our head and we show up for that reason. And in that way, you're not free inside. And you're not be true to your authentic self. And you hurt yourself along the way. And to me, that's not worth it. Because the one true freedom that you can have is to be true to your authentic self and to be free to be you in the moment in a way that serve the highest good. And of course, your life is yours. And if you don't take your life seriously, then who would? So, my friend, with that, choose to show up for yourself. Choose to make a commitment because you love yourself. You love to show up for a bigger purpose, not out of fear, not out of obligation. And from there, you will experience so much more joy and more freedom. Now, is that easy to do? No. That's why we have all these videos to inspire you to practice, to deepen the practice. And remember to celebrate the progress along the way. It will get better. So, with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me. If you find this video helpful, please feel free to share to those so that you think that will be helping them. And if you haven't already, you can click on the subscribe button to be part of this community and set on a notification so when the next video come out, we'll let you know. I'm looking forward to share my next AM with you. Thank you so much from my heart to yours and from the beautiful Hawaii to wherever you are in the world. Aloha.